So Goosebumps 2, The Vanishing, it's decent. The cinematography is great, maybe a little overkill. The color work is a bit janky, but there's beautiful bokeh in the background in most of the shots, and it's great. I had no idea that David Schwimmer was still acting after Friends, so it was pretty pleasant to see him show up here. He gives a pretty decent performance despite being in a relatively wasted role. For some godforsaken reason, they continuously, and I mean really continuously, non-stop put in Billboard Top 100 music from the summer of 2024 that's no longer popular and is quite frankly borderline unlistenable due to it being commercialized slop garbage that's barely even music. Stuff like Sabrina Carpenter and Taylor Swift, you know, the stuff that's actively ruining and hurting true music. Yeah, it's in every episode. It's very obvious that they were trying to appeal to Gen Z and Gen Y by putting in music that they thought would do that, would help appeal, but in reality it makes me want to peel off my skin. Speaking of the music, the actual OST, the actual original soundtrack score that was made specifically for the show, that's orchestral and all that, is actually pretty decent, but the theme song that plays when the title card appears is very soulless and doesn't at all feel like Goosebumps, which makes sense because kind of the whole show doesn't really feel like Goosebumps. Compared to the theme song of the original series or the title sequence song of the 2015 live-action film, which in my opinion is the perfect live-action adaptation of the books, or like I said, the 90s song, it's really, really soulless in comparison to those two theme songs. I mean, the theme song from the original 90s series is absolutely banging. I mean, go listen to that right now. That shit is incredible. And then the theme song or the title sequence song from the 2015 live action film, incredible. Both of those theme songs are great and they make the movie feel like Goosebumps. However, this title sequence theme song for this series, it's really bad. I was really hoping that they would change it for the season, but they really didn't. I thought it would be really, really cool if they combined the theme songs of the 90s series and the 2015 movie theme. If they combined it and then added like a gritty twist to it, that would be incredible. If they combined those two, if they did like a mashup and then added like a little gritty twist to it, that would have been the perfect opening theme. However, they really cheaped out and hired a composer who didn't really cook. This is becoming an increasingly common issue in movies and TV recently, but the production design is pretty shitty. I'm sorry, but mostly the wardrobe. The wardrobe is your basic brand new, straight off of the production line, fast fashion garbage that studios usually use for a lot of shows for streaming services and more of the movies that are supposed to be appealing to younger audiences. They use brand new clothing a lot as compared to in other movies where they use some used clothing and stuff like that, because a lot of brands send over clothing in order to, you know, have their logos in the film for production promotion purposes. And so they think they can feed ads into the minds of the youngins, and they did that a lot in Cobra Kai, and they did it a bunch here, and it ends up just making a lot of the clothes look too new, and therefore it really pulls me out of the experience because it's obvious that all their clothes, you know, just came off of the production line. But by far my favorite part of the series were the twins. I think they have a very realistic brother-sister relationship. Even though I didn't really grow up with a sister, I know what it's like. And it's definitely realistic here. Cece was probably my favorite character in the show, despite even not being in that much of it. She doesn't actually have that much screen time, but I enjoyed when she was on screen. What they're trying to achieve with this show is very confusing to me. I had a pretty positive review to the first season back when it came out. Go watch my review of that. But now I'm definitely more negative towards the overall series and what they're trying to do with it, because I'm really confused. It's sorta a gritty reboot of the Goosebumps novels, but not really. It's not really that gritty. It's not like TVMA. It's TV-14, so it's like, what the hell are they even trying to do here? It feels like they're trying to make Goosebumps appeal to older teenagers, which doesn't make any sense at all, because Goosebumps is a novel series that's horror for kids, not teens, for kids. It's supposed to be a horror series appealing to younger kids who are learning to read. That's why all the novels look super goofy, and that's why Goosebumps is goofy, and that's why it's scary, but not that scary. One of the rules that they had when they were creating the art for the novels, for the covers of the novels, was no red blood. So it's horror that's supposed to be geared towards younger kids, like 5 to 7 or 9 year olds. But it feels like this TV show is trying to cater towards older teenagers, which doesn't work for the Goosebumps series because, you know, Goosebumps is for younger kids. In the first season of the series, it felt like they were actually trying to adapt a lot more of the books and the plots from the books, like Haunted Mask and Night of the Living Dummy and, you know, all those. But in this series, it really doesn't feel like they're trying to adapt any of the novels pretty much at all. So it really just feels like that they're using Goosebumps just for the title. Like, it straight up just feels like they're using Goosebumps just to bring in audiences like me who love Goosebumps and have been reading it since they were like 5. And then it's an entirely new series, and they're just using Goosebumps to bring in their audience, and it's not actually Goosebumps. It straight up feels like if they did just a couple of little tweaks to the script of the show, it could be an entirely new standalone thing that has nothing to do with Goosebumps, because it isn't Goosebumps. R.L. Stine, who is the novelist, who is the writer who wrote the Goosebumps books, or supposedly, he used a bunch of ghostwriters, but we don't talk about that. He did a series, I think shortly after Goosebumps, called Fear Street. I did a review of the live action movies they did for Netflix. They're not very good, but he did a novel series called Fear Street, and Fear Street was supposed to be the novel series that this TV series is trying to be, if that makes any sense. It feels like this TV series is trying to turn Goosebumps into what Fear Street is supposed to be. Fear Street is supposed to be Goosebumps for older teens. Fear Street is supposed to gear towards the older teenagers and not towards the younger kids of Goosebumps. So it really feels like they're trying to do Fear Street with Goosebumps, which obviously doesn't work because Fear Street is not Goosebumps and Goosebumps is not Fear Street. In my opinion, the 2015 live-action Goosebumps movie is the best live-action adaptation we've had to this day. It's perfectly goofy and stupid and geared towards kids, but also geared towards a more adult audience and an older audience so that they can enjoy it too. And they do a really cool thing where they incorporate R.L. Stine into the plot, and it was just, I love the 2015 live-action film. And the 2015 live-action Goosebumps movie is exactly what a live-action adaptation of Goosebumps should be. Back in 2022, when I heard that they were adapting Goosebumps for Disney Plus again, I was really excited for the series because I really expected it to have the same feeling as the 2015 film. However, it's almost a complete opposite 180 in tone and doesn't really feel like it knows what the fuck it's doing and doesn't really have a soul. This series doesn't really scare me. It's not really scary at all. And obviously Goosebumps is supposed to be horror for kids. However, it doesn't even really feel scary, even for smaller kids. With the previous, more geared towards younger kid Goosebumps media, it's been very apparent that this would be terrifying towards younger kids, but when it comes to a larger, more adult audience, definitely not. But it's more comedy so that the older audience can enjoy it and the younger kids can be scared by it. So it works on both ends. But with this series, it's not scary and it's not really funny either, so it really doesn't work. I remember when I was super excited for the Goosebumps series to come out before season 1 came out. I remember being super excited for it and thinking in my head, I wonder how a super gritty adult rated R Goosebumps series would be. And I thought of it in my head and I thought, no, that really doesn't work because Goosebumps is supposed to be goofy and lighthearted. So a really adult version of it really wouldn't work. And then the series came out and it was an adult version of it. So it's like, what's even the point? What's even the point? I found the storyline with the grown adults to be a lot better than the one with the teens. It felt a lot better written, and it felt like the writers were better at writing grown adults than they were at modern teens. The episodes in the series are way too long and definitely could have been around 20 to 30 minutes as compared to the 40-minute runtime that they are now. It really feels like a lot of them kind of drag on near the end, so they should really shorten down the episode length because it's a little too long. By the way, there's this whole plot with Cece where she's like really into kombucha, which is a fermented beverage, and through the fermenting process, alcohol is naturally injected into the drink. So there's actually an alcoholic quality when it comes to kombucha, the beverage, which she drinks a lot of it in the series. So she's an alcoholic. If you think about it, Cece is an alcoholic, because if you think about it, kombucha has alcohol in it, enough to the point where if you drink enough of it, you will get a little buzz. So is she an alcoholic? Because she's addicted to the kombucha, right? But she's not 21, so she can't have drinks yet. So maybe she's inadvertently, without knowing it, an alcoholic. because she most likely gets a little buzz from the kombucha. If you think about it, Cece's an alcoholic. Anyways, this new Goosebumps series really takes itself too seriously, and it feels like it's trying to be a drama series and a horror series at the same time, and it kind of feels like it's trying to be Stranger Things, and it feels like it's just trying way too many things at once, and it's all colliding together, and it's not working at all. For fuck's sake, it's Goosebumps. It's supposed to be goofy, it's supposed to be funny, and a little scary to younger kids. It's not supposed to give kids nightmares or anything, but it's supposed to, you know, frighten them a little bit, but it's supposed to be mostly funny, goofy, with a little sprinkling of horror in there. But the people who made this series don't really seem to understand what Goosebumps is at its core, which is bad because, you know, they're adapting Goosebumps. So realistically, I think they should really go back to square one with this series and really go back and look at what Goosebumps is and adapt Goosebumps from its core reasoning, its core purpose, which is to scare younger kids and to bring joy to older ones. That's kind of the whole point of Goosebumps. They overuse the CGI elements way too much. I mean, there's a scene where Cece throws up, and you can very obviously tell that it's CGI, despite it being very easy to do fake puke on set. You can just fill her mouth with fake puke and then have her spit it out. It's a pretty simple effect, and it's really confusing as to why they use CGI instead of just dyeing some fake puke and doing it practically. They just really reuse CGI over and over again too much, and it pisses me off. The body horror is actually decent because there's like a scene where these tentacles come out of this guy's arms and he's like pulling on them, and the body horror is actually pretty good and actually pretty gross, and that's like the only thing that was scary about the show was the mild body horror. It was actually pretty frightening. So overall, I was really positive about this show at first, but then kind of it wore off. It really did. And this second season is better, and I enjoyed it in many ways, but it was just heavily flawed, and it didn't really at all feel like Goosebumps. And I really think they should just go back to square one and do what Goosebumps 2015 did, which is perfect. They should do what Goosebumps 2015 did, where just Goosebumps 2015, the 2015 live-action Goosebumps film is literally perfect, and that's what an adaptation of Goosebumps should be, and I think they should look at that film as a template for what they should do for Season 3. I'm not gonna lie, this season isn't very good. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 6.5 out of 5, because I thought it was decent and I enjoyed it, despite it not really being Goosebumps. So yeah, I don't think R.L. Stine really fucked with this one either. I have a feeling R.L. Stine watched this and had the same feeling that I did, which is, this isn't Goosebumps. So anyways, yeah, this is decent. I hope Season 3 is better, but so far, it's not really fucking with it. You know, I'm not fucking with it. So yeah, hopefully Season 3 is better. Peace out. Actually, now that I think about it, this show is actually pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie. Actually, a lot of the jokes were funny, and it was charming that they at least tried to put some humor in there, because humor is a big part of Goosebumps. So it was actually, some of the humor was actually pretty funny, especially the scene where the guy sneezes out his eyeball and then turns around and the delivery guy is like, "Oh shit!" and then he books. Yeah, that was funny. That was funny. I like that scene. But yeah, a decent amount of the humor actually got to me. Now that I think about it, it was actually pretty funny. And that's, I think, what kept me enjoying a lot of it was the humor. So, you know, I'm giving it a 6.5 out of 10. I meant to say 6.5 out of 10. 6.5 out of 5 doesn't make any sense. I meant to say 6.5 out of 10. 6.5 out of 10. Maybe 7. Maybe 7 out of 10. I'll give it a 7. I'll give it a smooth, solid 7 out of 10. Damn, this is my longest review ever. Like 14 minutes. That's wild. Anyways, decent series. I hope Season 2 is better. To watch it, I'd recommend it. Peace out.